I see Elisha, like, because they were sleeping, they woke up to this. I see Elisha just catnapping. The sun's rising, and he's giving a little stretch. Oh, I feel good today. And then all of a sudden he hears his servant, we're going to die! Elisha, where are you? We're done for. And he's like, good grief, this guy. All right. So Elisha says this, verse 16. Don't be afraid. The prophet answered. Get this in your head today. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. You might be facing a lot. I'm not downplaying your struggle, because struggles happen and they're a lot. But there's more with you than there is with the world. There's more on your side than there is on that side. You ever get into a fight with somebody and they're like, we're going to meet after school. You bring your posse, I'll bring my posse, right? And then if you have more people, of course they're going to back down, right? There's more with us than there more is with him. That's what Elisha said to his servant. Don't be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. And I'm praying, that's my prayer today, that God would open, all of our eyes. Josiah, Nicole, Michelle, Aaron, Faith, Tony, Alex, Lee, Peggy, Michelle. Got more Michelles now. That God would open your eyes to what's really going on behind the curtain. Because this is what they see. Elijah prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, not his physical eyes like he already was seeing, but he was seeing in the physical all of his problems, all of his troubles, all of his despair, all the things that were going wrong in life. Open his spiritual eyes. Elisha saw in the spirit, he saw the big things happening behind the scene. Open his eyes. The Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full. Full. When I think of full, like if you filled a gallon of water up and then let the water keep running and it keeps boiling over, like full. He saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire. So horses that are flames. Imagine seeing, horses are beautiful already, right? They're beautiful. They got the long mane and all the muscle, and they run, and they're so elegant and powerful at the same time. But imagine if you met a flaming horse, a fiery horse, and this hillside, although the enemies were numerous, is surrounded by flaming horses and fiery chariots all around them. I get goosebumps talking about it and thinking about it, because in my mind I can see the protection that God has on our lives. And yes, they were in trouble because they were surrounded, but there was more with them than there was against them. As the enemy came down toward him, I'm in 18, Elisha prayed to the Lord, strike this army with blindness. So he struck them with blindness. God did, as Elisha had asked. Elisha told them, he told the armies, now they're blind. Nobody can see, okay? So Elisha's seeing all this brilliant stuff, but now the enemy's blind, can't figure out what's going on. They're freaking out. They operate in a physical realm. They thought they had it beat. But then God cuts off the physical thing that they used, the eyesight. The enemy can't see at this point. And I'm almost done, guys. I'm almost done. Just hang with me for a few more minutes. Get away, fly. And Elisha told them, this is not the road and this is not the city. He basically kind of told a little fib there. It's like, Elisha's not here and you're in the wrong city. You guys are a bunch of blind fools. This is the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. Follow me, Elisha said, and I will lead you to the man you are looking for. Because in his spiritual eyes, Elisha knew who they were really looking for. They were looking for Elisha, but he knew who they really needed to meet. They needed to see God's power and authority. So he tells them, follow me. And he led them to Samaria. After they entered the city, Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men so they can see. Then the Lord opened the eyes, and they looked, and they were inside Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, whoa, wait a second. He led the entire army all the way to the king of Israel. So now the Aramean king is really ticked off because the enemies that he sent to destroy Elisha followed Elisha to the king. And now the king of Israel has authority over that army. That's what God can do when we look in the Spirit, when we walk in the Spirit. We don't fulfill the lust of the flesh. We walk in the Spirit because we're seeing and feeling with God instead of feeling and seeing with our body. When the king of Israel saw them, he asked Elisha, he's like, dude, Elisha, you're in control. You brought them here. He's like, shall I kill them, my father? Shall I kill them? Do not kill them, he answered. Would you kill those you have captured with your own sword or bow? This is crazy. This is the grace of God. This is how God shows up, his love and mercy. And Elisha's like, tells them to do this, set food and water before them so that they may eat and drink and then go back to their master. So we prepared a great feast for them. And after they had finished eating, drinking, he sent them away and they returned to their master. I'm not going to hold off on the last verse before I'm done. We always think we have to fight the enemy and beat him in the eye and give him a black eye. And, we start to think that, like, Josiah yelled at me, so I'm mad at him. And I'm going to get him back. And God's going to get him back and beat him up. The way that God, we were going to write a song about this, revenge in the scope of grace. What is it? We talked about that. We're going to write a song that God's revenge towards the enemy is always in the scope of grace. And instead of God destroying this army, people talk about how the Old Testament's so bloody and God was such a, evil, hateful God that destroyed. God saved this entire army by the hand of Elisha because Elisha realized that God's a loving God. And through this, Elisha blessed the army that was going to attack him. When you see in the Spirit and you walk in the Spirit, you do things of the Spirit. And when you do things of the Spirit, it's going to change the way your enemies view you. Because when he fed them and he led them out of trouble and he sent them back freely, it says this, so the bands of Aram, the armies of Aram, stopped raiding Israel's territory. No one had to die, not a single person. All it took was one man of God or woman of God to see in the Spirit and see what's really going on behind the scenes, and then to open someone else's eyes. Now, I've not had standing awake visions. I've had some dreams and stuff. I hear God's voice impress upon my heart, and then I act it out, and I do my best to do what he asked me to do. But I'm praying today that on the level that you're at right now, you may not know what God has for you, but I'm praying for another step up. That you begin to hear God's voice, another step up. Come up a little higher, guys. Come up a little higher. Because God has things for you to do. Not because it's not for yourself. Who are you leading into the presence of the King? That's what I want to leave you with. Who are you leading into the presence of the King? You can only lead when you see. If your spiritual eyes are cut off, you cannot lead God's people. Who are you leading? How are you leading them into the presence of the King? Elisha, he brought them into the presence of the King. Cut off your physical eyes. Don't cut your eyes out. I ain't saying that. But stop relying on what you see. Rely on what God is saying. Trust that he is a good God. We are sitting in the crowd watching a play getting ready to start, metaphorically. We're sitting, waiting, and God is working his tails off behind the scenes. And if you jump out of the theater now, if you leave the theater now, you miss the entire show. There's no chance for applause. There's no chance for the enjoyment and the hugs that everybody has. And, yeah, great job, let's go celebrate. You'll miss everything if you stop now. Don't stop now. Sit and wait for that curtain to draw back and your spiritual eyes to see what God's really doing. He's doing some cool stuff. Breakthrough and blessings and wonders and even troubles. He's going to do great things. He's a good God. So I want to leave you with that. Who are you leading into the presence of the King?